Do you know that the first thing a dog sees when it comes out of its egg, it considers it to be its mother? So it could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be a human being. Now, question for everybody, is that true? Many of us, where you are right now, it's called imprinting. You believe you can only earn to a particular amount of money. It's imprinting. Did you know that the first thing, anybody know this? Do you know that the first thing a dog sees when it comes out of its egg, it considers it to be its mother? Anyone know that? The first thing a dog sees when it comes out of the egg, it considers it to be its mother. Anyone know that? Do you know that? So it could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be a human being. But whatever a dog sees, okay, good. So your normal knows that. Whatever a dog sees, imprinting, yeah. Whatever a dog sees, it sees as mom. Now, question for everybody, is that true? Many of us, this is how our lives are running. Is that true? Is the cat the dog's mom? Is that human being the dog's mom? Now, this process serves the dog well, 99.9999% of the time. But you can see the limitations in that process. It's a process that leads to an unshakable belief in that little dog. That dog absolutely believes that that first thing they saw is the mom. Many of us, where you are right now, it's called imprinting. You absolutely believe that what you are, how much or where you are right now is the norm. Now, if the dog stopped and reflected and asked himself, how is that working for me? How is a dog my mom? He may conclude that the dog may conclude that they are perfectly happy with their results. So that's why many of us are the way we are. We've concluded that we're happy with our results. So why change the belief? Because, well, our beliefs are slightly more complicated in their formation, but they're just as valuable. They can just be as comical. Our beliefs are the result of a learning process, not necessarily a reflection of reality. Where you are right now, you believe that you can only live in Southeast London or whatever it is. It's imprinting. You believe you can only earn to a particular amount of money. It's imprinting. You believe you can only succeed in a particular role. It's imprinting. And if these beliefs that we hold that tend to keep us conveniently tucked in our comfort zone, now we can't examine everything we believe. And really, there's no need to do that. But we do need to examine certain beliefs that are stopping us from moving forward towards our goals. What are those beliefs stopping you from moving forward towards your goal? And I believe that I'm genetically shy and I can't do public speaking. That belief is probably going to stand in my way more than anything else, right? So if I'm serious about being a comic, then sensibly, that's probably the first thing I need to examine and ask myself, how is that working for me? Is it logical? Is it based in reality? And is it helping me? And if not, it may have to go. Let go of that belief. There's a process to change, just like the process to acquiring beliefs in the first place. It takes decisions. And that's what I'm pushing us to do this morning. It takes decisions. It takes commitment. It takes a goal or reason to change, an understanding of the obstacles that will be faced on the way. Then there has to be a strategy to step through the terror barriers. And I'm going to teach in terror barriers as one of the lessons I'm going to teach over this next 12 weeks. You have to be intentional, create a strategy to step through the terror barriers that would emerge. Persistence. You heard my wife, you heard Annabelle say this morning, persistence has become our best friend. Persistence has to be your friend. The only way to knock doors down, the terror barriers, to knock the doors down. Shout out to everybody on my AIMI call. Studying every day. We're studying Think and Grow Rich. And they're studying every day and pushing themselves. Persistence. Persistence is a shift in attitude. That's a system for successful change. Persistence. Now, this is more difficult than it sounds. And typically we found that people generally need some good information. So that's why you need a coach. You need a coach to help you in this process. So those of you who are thinking of leaving, oh, well and good. Or ideally both, you need a coach. You need at least a third-party perspective that can really help. How many times have you looked at somebody else's life and you see all the problems or things that they need to change? It's so obvious in somebody else's, isn't it? But it's much more difficult to see it in yourselves, because much of what we do is habitual. It's unconscious. It's below our level of consciousness. So someone looking in can more easily identify those things that are holding us back. And it's not just with regard to our lives that a good coach can fast track your success. That's what we're here for. Think of sports. Think of sports. You know, my daughter, she's going for tennis very soon. She's got 2 tennis coaches. You know, and one is telling us, look, she needs to start getting into the competitions. But the other one is saying, no, not yet. Not yet. Because there's still some habits that he wants to correct. There's still some habits that need to change. Because if you don't fix those habits now, down the line, it's going to affect her. You know, there's this story my mentor tells. They went skiing a while ago, and there was a guy called Tom, and Tom was running around looking for his goggles. And many of us have seen this kind of thing. I've done it many times myself. Running around looking for his goggles, he was getting more and more annoyed. And nobody could take him serious because they thought he knew that the goggles were on his head. Anybody experienced that? What you're looking for is on your head. You're looking for your glasses or something is on your head. Because everyone could see it apart from him. Imprinting. And that's why we need coaches. That's why I have coaches. That's why I have mentors. Because I can see what everybody needs to fix, but I can't see what I need to fix. Anyway, as I said, formation of beliefs is part of the learning process. While time is going, it's part of our learning process. We're pretty much, all of us, the product of our environment. I'll say that again. All of us on this call right now, we're the product of our environment. We've learned to fit in with our environment. Think of language. Think of language. We learn the language or languages that are going on around us, right? We fit into our environment. If you put a child in an English-speaking home, what language do they learn? Chat box. You put a child in an English-speaking home, what language are they going to learn? English, right? Put the same child in a German-speaking home. What language do they learn? Dutch. They're going to learn to speak German. Yoruba, joker. They soak it up. If the same child, guys, check this out. If the same child is put in a wealthy home, if a child grows up in a wealthy home, what habits and beliefs would they likely acquire? Just think about it. We're a function of our environment. I'm sorry, if you grew up in a poor family, apologies, that is what you have soaked up. If you grew up in mediocrity, that is what you have soaked up. If you grew up in a welfare system, that is what you are soaking up. Those are the habits. We're a function of our environment. The people you are hanging around with, the kind of conversations you are having, you are soaking it up. Nearly all welfare recipients are second, third, fourth generation welfare recipients in this country. Why? Well, that's the environment they grew up in. There are people who don't know that they can own businesses. There are people who don't know they can buy properties. There are people who don't even know these things. There are people who don't even know that there are things like going on business class, going on first class. They have no clue. All they know is buy a plane, just get a plane ticket. There are people who don't go on holidays. I took a young boy once from Thamesmead, when I was living in Thamesmead over 20 years ago, from Thamesmead to Wembley, and he was wild. This was an 18-year-old boy. Wild. He felt like he went to another country. From Thamesmead to Wembley, this young man felt like he went to another country. There are people who don't know that. People who are stuck in a postcode. They don't see any other part of the world. They don't even see any other part of their city. You're a function of your environment. So the most natural thing in the world for someone growing up in that environment is to fit right in. And part of this process of fitting in, many of us are fitting in, is the accumulation of beliefs. Like the dog through a learning process. All of this Information that is programmed into our subconscious mind, we refer to as a paradigm. Now, we may not have been responsible for the creation of our paradigm, but understand this now. This is probably the most important thing that I'm going to say. Listen, guys, we may not have been responsible. We're not necessarily responsible for acquiring it. But listen, it is our responsibility to change it. I know your family may have brought you up in a poverty conscious environment, but you have to change it. You can change it. It's our responsibility to change it. If we want something different to what we've been getting, then it's our responsibility to change the paradigms of our lives. No one is going to do it for you. No one is going to do that for you. If you don't like what you're earning, you have to change it. If you don't like the results you're seeing in your life, you have to change it. If you don't like what's showing up in your health, you have to change it. If you don't like what's showing up in your relationships, you have to change it.